Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Mitt Romney, the truth and the folks. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. So now we have a controversy over Governor Romney telling supporters that a large portion of the American population is dependent on government and most likely will not vote for him. Here's my question. Why is that controversial? That's true. Mr. Romney said that back in May at a fundraiser in Florida where he was secretly videotaped.
There are 47% of the people who will vote for the president no matter what. All right, there are 47% who are with him, who are dependent upon government, who believe that they are victims, who believe that government has a responsibility to care for them, who believe that they're entitled to health care, to food, to housing, to you name it. That that's an entitlement, and the government should give it to them. My job is not to worry about those people. I'll never convince them that they should take personal responsibility and care for their lives.
Now, I believe the governor overestimates the number. I put the percentage of Americans who want a nanny state at about 40%. My analysis is based on a Gallup poll, which asks the question, which comes closer to your own view? The government does too much, and 54% said that. Should do more, 39%. Depends, 4.5%. Now, if you say the federal government should do more social engineering than the Obama administration is currently doing, then you want a nanny state. If you want a nanny state, you're not going to vote for Romney, who's a big self-reliance guy. So again, what on earth is the controversy? If I'm Governor Romney, I run with this all day long. And I have the stats to back my position up. Right now, the federal and state governments are spending nearly $1 trillion a year on means-tested entitlements. Those are payments other than Social Security and Medicare. More than 46 million Americans are now receiving food stamps. That's a record. Nearly 9 million Americans are now on federal disability, another record. And more than 100 million Americans, 35% of the population, are living in a household receiving some kind of welfare. Now, I'm assuming that Governor Romney wants to stop the madness and get people back to work so they can pay their own bills. I'm assuming that's what he wants to do. So Romney should be pointing a finger at President Obama, saying he wants a welfare state, the president does. And he's well on the way to creating one, because that's what the stats show. This is so painful. This is so crazy, I should say. It's painful. Did you know that last week the Fed pumped about $23 billion into the banking system? Just threw it out there in the marketplace, flooding the zone with dollars, hoping they will be loaned out by American banks. That puts us all in danger. The more dollars that are in circulation, the less the currency we have in our wallet and in our bank is worth. That's why OPEC jacked up oil prices, to keep their profits steady. So while we have a lemming-like press braying over Romney being insensitive or something, the man is telling the absolute truth. The U.S. government is broke. The feds are borrowing heavily, $3.5 billion every day. And now they're manipulating the dollar in order to pay the bills. That's economically insane. That's Greece. All Americans should wise up. If you're on the dole, other people have to pick up your tab. And right now, there aren't enough other people to do that. That's why the country has a $16 trillion debt. Unbelievable. And that's a memo. Now for the top story. Reaction. Joining us from Washington, Fox News political analyst Charles Krauthammer. Spectacular T-points tonight, right, Charles? Spectacular.
You know, if Romney had said what you'd said instead of what he said, he'd be president. I mean, that is what you presented is the guts of his case, which I think is a winning argument that Obama is turning America into an entitlement state. The problem is the actual words he used. Number one, he said 47% to match the number of Americans who aren't paying income tax. And then he said these are people who consider themselves victims. Now, that's not a very smart thing to say. It's not even accurate. And you don't win an election by disparaging just about half of the electorate. So simply as a matter of appealing to the electorate, the way he put it was about the worst possible way. I think the only way out of this is not to go over it line by line, but is to pivot away and say, look, the heart of this is the question of entitlements. And to go right after Obama with an attack, look at what he's done on welfare. This was the one bipartisan success of the 1990s. Democratic president, Republican Congress came together on one of the great social successes of our time, decreased the poverty rate among children, radically reduced the welfare rolls. And what does Obama do? The media analysis, incidentally, of this, of the point that Romney has made, that Obama has gutted it, is completely wrong. Obama has, in this regulation, and Romney has to keep trying to make the point unafraid, the essence of it is to undermine the legal underpinning of the fact that you must work to get welfare. That's the core of the regulation. The law was written so that nobody has the right to waive the requirement. Not a governor, not the Secretary of HHS, which is how Obama has now.
Yeah, because he signed an executive order giving these people wiggle room in describing who can get the welfare payment and who can't. And that undermines the strict interpretation of, if you're not looking for work, if you're not doing something, you're not going to get the check. Okay, but let's get back to Romney and Romney's point of view. He basically is saying to America, you got to make a decision. You got to make a decision. He's not saying it strongly enough. He's not saying it the way I would say it or you would say it. We have to stop the nonsense. This is nonsense. This is economic Armageddon. That's where we're heading right now, if we don't stop it. I can stop it. Mitt Romney can stop it, because I'll create jobs. I'll free up the private sector. They'll have more confidence. Money, natural money, will get into circulation, not printed, that money that we're throwing out there just to, you know, in artificial ways. I can do it, all right? And I'm sorry if I offended people, but I have to get your attention, and I did. That's how I would handle it. If he's going to back off, Charles, if he's going to try to, you know, parse it, he's going to lose. He's going to lose. He's got to be right in your face. Mitt Romney has to be right in your face, trying to warn the American public of the danger ahead. That's it.
All that is true. And that is, and he was trying to make it, the core of his campaign. It was the core of the speeches at Tampa. The problem is, this thing he said at the fundraiser is not that. He didn't say, I'm out here to create jobs. He was making an analysis. He was standing back and playing the pundit, trying to explain why he's not going to win 47% of the electorate. That's
meaningless. It's meaningless. That's just,
the fact is,
he's in a crew and he's saying that. Doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything, except that it was caught on tape, and it has him calling half of the American people who consider themselves victims, in which you include Social Security recipients. That's not smart.
Well, I don't know if he included Social Security.
When he's talking about people who don't pay income tax, if you're over the age of 65... I think he was talking about
currently working people. I didn't take that away from him.
That's not your 47% who don't pay income tax. No, he made a
mistake, and as I said, he made a mistake on it. Real quick, how many? Yeah. What percentage would you put on the American people that are in that category? I want my stuff, and that's it. I just want it, and I don't really want to work that hard for it. How many?
Hardcore, 20% of Americans who call themselves liberals. I'd add another 10% who are on the bandwagon, and the rest can be persuaded either way.
All right. Charles, very much. Thank you. Next on the Rundown, Democrat. Continuing now with our lead story, Mitt Romney telling the truth as he sees it about America's entitlement culture. Co-chair of President Obama's campaign is outraged.
It reveals something about his value system. For him to speak with such disdain about so many Americans, and he wants to be our president. This man apparently feels that if you're not a part of his social class or his economic, you don't have his economic status, that somehow you're a parasite.
All right, joining us now to react, Monica Crowley, author of the book, What the Bleep Just Happened. And Alan Colmes, whose new book, Thank the Liberals for Saving America, has just been released. All right, Colmes, let's talk about me. Yeah,
my favorite topic.
Yeah, I believe that Romney is correct in his assessment that the president has built an entitlement culture in this country. And you can see it, the stats back it up. Now, yeah, you can blame it on the recession, you can blame it on a lot of things. But the culture that we've created now is definitely heading toward the Western European model. Am I a mean guy for believing that? Am
I don't think you're personally a mean guy, but I think the attitude comes off as insensitive simply because it's systemic. It's not Barack Obama who did this. You've got a number of retirees. I can go down the numbers where Romney was totally wrong on the numbers, and now Krauthammer was right that he disparaged half of the American people, but most of the people who are getting help or want help are in and out in a short period of time. They're in and out in a year and a half. They're not lifers.
Would you say 35% is a good number to put on slackers?
Absolutely not.
No, that's too high.
And I'll tell you why.
What number would you put on?
I would say it's probably 3 to 4%. And I'll tell you
4%.
why. Can I back that up? Because the numbers are, and the Tax Policy Center did the numbers, 28.3% of households pay no federal income tax because they get all these kind of breaks and they don't qualify, but they pay all other kinds of taxes. 10.3% are retirees, elderly, people who, and only 6.9% have incomes of $20,000 a year or less. Now, some of those people, some of that 6.9% may be in that category, but it's not the whole 6.9%.
You say?
I say let's all be reminded of Rahm Emanuel's famous comment in February of 2009, never let a crisis go to waste. What this administration has done over the last nearly 4 years is a deliberate attempt to try to get as many people dependent on the government as possible at all levels. And the ultimate objective of that, which is what Governor Romney was getting at in his comments, is to create a permanent Democrat voting majority. If you have people who have the chance at voting themselves freebies, goodies, and a raise from the U.S. Treasury, they will. That's human nature. And that's what this has all been about.
No, because I don't think human nature is I just want free stuff. I think more highly of the American public. Most people want to work. Most people have pride. Most people don't want to sit and collect money. And look at the numbers I gave you.
Then how do you explain the demographics of both parties, that the Democratic Party derives its power from the minority base and the lower income?
We're presuming that because the minority or lower income that they don't want to work. You know, the 47%.
No, I mean, I'm asking you a question.
Well,
Crowley says that it's a conscious attempt by the president of the Democratic Party to build up a welfare state that will vote in Democrats.
One of the mistakes Romney made was to equate the 47% with a Democratic base.
You're dodging my question. The base of the Democratic Party falls into the category of people who don't earn much money and who are dependent on the government for stuff.
But what's not being connected here is that these people who don't want to work. Are these
you can't get in
the
individual minds.
You know that 47%. Let me just finish this one thought. Most of them are in red states.
Right. Okay.
Most of them are in red states.
Don't even. You're not going to sway it. Okay. Now, Romney has lost a lot of momentum and mojo in the last week or so. Would you agree to that? He's on the defensive. The press is going in. They're hammering him.
Yes, not because of anything
but you know, it doesn't merely matter why. It's happening. So on Libya, on this, Mother Jones, by the way, put this tape out. Okay, so Romney finds himself now on the defensive. He's lost momentum. And you're going to see it in the polling. You will. Now, I told Krauthammer, look, he's got to get in everybody's face now. He's got to say enough of this garbage, all right? This is what's happening. We're going the way of Greece. I can stop it. He can't. You got to vote for me or the whole thing's going over the cliff.
That's exactly right. And he has to tie this all together. In other words, what you see in the growing dependency class, what you see in unemployment, what you see poverty at record highs, what you see with 49% of the American people paying no federal income tax, what you see with 49% of all U.S. households having at least one person on federal aid. When you tie that all together and say this is a direct result of Barack Obama's policies creating this growing dependency class, I'm going to put a stop to it, and here's how I'm going to do it.
Well, he's got to be simpler
policies,
about it,
but wait,
right.
Bill, he needs to be talking about economic freedom and how that raises all those,
including yours. He's got to do it in a direct manner. 15 seconds.
You can't just say...
You think Romney's lost, right?
I think he's going to lose the election. I think in the last 2 weeks have been very bad for him between Libya, between Cairo, and between what he did this tape.
Got to run. Directly ahead, John Stossel.